go ahead with evaluation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those against having evaluation. And does that mean that the rest are abstaining?
Yeah, abstaining.
Well, that splits the vote, doesn't it?
We've got a majority, so
Majority.
that's fine.
Majority.
So as I understand, with that, the majority of those who voted have voted to have the valuation done, so we have the valuation done, that's fine.
Apologies, I just want to understand the process. Did we not resolve to do it last month?
We resolved to do it at 100 to 200 pounds, so I'm slightly confused here.
Okay, sorry,
So
that's
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say, is only at that lower figure, because I would agree with what Bob just said. The reason I've just voted for that is to push this forward, because this is just going on and on and on. So let's just get it done, but not at that extortionately high figure. If it's 250...
Well, the first thing is you've agreed effectively to have the evaluation, right? Next thing is, do we go for the higher?
Can I have a show of hands for the lower estimate of 250? That's unanimous.
So that's what we do then.
Good, thank you, Bob.
Okay. And I think that probably takes care of certainly the letter the points that were raised.
Tendering process.
Tendering process is a little bit delayed because we've got to wait now for Paul Martin to come up with all the paperwork, which has now gone out to mid-March from what was going to be mid-February. So, so hopefully by the time we get to the April meeting, we'll have all the documents in place, and then we can then go for the formal tender process.
But Chairman, ultimately it shouldn't delay us further in the sense that we've put out the information asking for people to come forward and submit their interest. Once you've got the documentation, we don't need to wait for another meeting for that to go out.
That goes straight away. We've got four interested parties who have actually asked us.
There's another one that they're going to...
Okay, so that's 5 then. So as soon as I get the information, I'll make sure that all of them get a tendering pack immediately with a copy of our tendering policy. Because that's important, we have got a tendering policy. And I will make sure that they receive that with the documentation they get from Paul Martin. So, and then we can take from there.
Could I just ask, it's a strange question, if and when this building comes down, toilet block, are we having temporary toilets provided?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
For walkers?
I imagine we'd have to...
People do use them, yeah.
We talked about that previously and it's budgeted for, I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think, bearing in mind, one of the things within a covenant is that we provide the toilet facility in the village. So if we actually demolish the existing ones and don't have them there for a while, then surely we have to provide them to meet that covenant. I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Just to comment on that, if we are to do it, I think we need to be making contact with some companies fairly soon, because otherwise they may not have them.
A shorter time.
Well, it certainly depends on what time of year it is. I was talking to someone the other day who was trying to put an event on and they couldn't get portable toilets for love nor money. And the other question was, we need to sort out where we're putting them and how they're secured. Because obviously most of the land that we have around there will have the builder's compound around it. So we may need to be allocating part of the car park, in which case we just need to work out how we're doing it.
And also I was thinking just now, considerations for powering the shop when we pull that down, because we won't be using anything from there.
Lots of issues.
Just to add to that, my understanding is that we have a certain number of workers on a project, you have to provide toilets. So maybe some opportunity there. I think they have to have a certain number of staff working, or sorry, builders working. There have to be toilet provisions there as part. I don't know exact numbers are, but don't quote me on that. But there's certainly a certain number of workers. The workers have to provide toilets to be used.
That seems logical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems logical.
We'll just get a load of old buckets.
Long drops.
But following up on Bob's thought, the timing is a difficult one because we don't know when, of course, we've got no idea at this stage how long any successful tenderer is going to take to start the job. And it could be 6 months.
Just mindful of the fact that the marketplace is slightly changing and there's going to be towards partly through the year and halfway through more materials and more supply of labour force as well for them to do the work. So it's kind of, there is an opportunity there. It might not be as bad as it had been last year. So
Yeah. Maybe some inquiries, maybe some inquiries, perhaps one or two toilet vendors around the area. That may be appropriate at this stage, just to find out what their timescales are, what their costs
I think
are.
there's Griffin, isn't there?
Is
They
that
go down
Griffin?
to the village with the was selling.
Septic tanks there?
Well, he's just known as Griffin, is he?
Griffin's
Griffin Toilet Hire.
There's also one down by Salt Express as well.
Griffin's better, you'll get Griffin oil.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we need to get 3 quotes though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking after
I'll speak to him first of all, find out what his take is on it, and go from there.
You find it'd be cheaper as well because he's Brent Knoll person, so.
Oh, I see.
Well,
And they do the was
It's
selling
Mark.
every year, so they're
they do a lot in Brent Knoll, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I think they advertise in the magazine.
Yeah.
Well, that's a thing I've never been involved in.
Next item is ANPR. What's that concern?
Yeah, well, it's quite an interesting, quite an yeah, it was a very fruitful meeting, I think, yesterday, wasn't it? Actually, it was, we had a meeting with Aileen Fletcher, who's a highways manager. I think that's her title, traffic manager. And somebody who works with her. And then we also had 2 or 3 members of the Avon Somerset Police who came along as well. And they explained to us really how this whole ANPR thing actually works. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that we control this ANPR, because that was the thing that surprised me yesterday. I thought data was going to go straight to the police and they were going to monitor it centrally, but we decide what data is sent to the police, actually. And so Stuart Nichols, who does our SID movement, he will obviously take the data from the ANPR, provide us with the data, and we will give him sort of presumably permission to send that data onto the police. And the idea is that once somebody is caught on ANPR, three hits basically, on the 3rd time they get a letter from the police. That seems to be the general sort of way it operates. But what they're looking for are the big speeders predominantly, aren't they? They're not looking for the 35 in a 30, they're looking for the sort of 45, 50, 55 type of speeders predominantly, and consistent ones over a period as well, because one of the things that the data gives them is the ability to check people's insurance. Have they got a driving licence? Are they disqualified? All these various bits of information, but only with the people that are creating a problem.
So, when you say we will get the data, will we be able to see the registration numbers and stuff?
I very much doubt it.
Yeah, if I can, yes. So what they were explaining to us was we would have to register with the government to be a data holder.
Surveillance.
We would have to register Stuart Nichols as our person who would have the permission to do that. So it wouldn't be freely available to all members of the council to look at all the number plates. So he in effect would be our contractor. And the ANPR, as Owen said, is only triggered by those who are at the high speed. So it doesn't record every vehicle and then pick out the speeding ones. It only triggers to record when it's someone who's at that speed. And as Owen said, what they were looking at doing was in a 30, you'd probably started at 50. And anyone above 50 will get clobbered. And then once you then start to see that number drop down, you would then be able to lower your bit above, but you would probably never go, they seem to imply you probably wouldn't go below about 38 to 40. That's probably as low as you're going to get for sending these sort of notes, because otherwise you're sending people stuff for what is a minor infringement over the speed limit, because they were saying even when they do the checks, it's not 30, it's 30 plus a bit.
Yeah.
So that's but they're not looking for these sort of devices to clobber hundreds of thousands of people. They are looking to pick the people who are the problem ones. They also said that the way they're planning on doing this, we're in effect going to be the trial in the county. The idea would be you will have your SID, and then slightly further down the road there will be the AMPR on another post, and it will not be a little black box, it will be a big yellow box that is about the same size as the SID, so it is pretty obvious that there's something there. So they're not looking for this to be a covert, let's catch people underhandedly, they're looking for this to be part of a speed reduction policy, not catch lots of people.
I think it's a good
Yeah.
thing. The other thing that comes into play, of course, is the cost, because of course we've got the £5,000 grant, we've probably put £1,000 towards it. But of course, Stuart Nichols will then need to have more time to spend moving it from A to B. Because if we've got, say, 2 or 3 or 4 locations, he will obviously charge us for doing that. So there will be some cost, ongoing cost, to us as a parish council. And I believe there's quite a lot of paperwork as well that we need to complete to say that we comply with all the various structures on the document. So that's going to take a bit of time.
There's a money cost for that as well. There's a registration cost for that as well. I don't think it's much.
Yeah.
£40 or something.
Yeah,
but
they didn't
just,
say how much it cost actually, so I didn't know. But yeah, there are other things to consider, but you know.
I understand that there's a possibility that we could hire it out to other parish councils.
Yeah,
Or
that
does
was
that create
discussed,
a
wasn't it? It does create a problem with insurance, of course, because we would need to insure it. So if another parish council, like say East Brent, for example, were to take it from us and use it, they would have to insure it whilst it's in their possession. We couldn't possibly insure it for it being situated in East Brent or Lymsham. So therefore you get the complications of insurance. Could they insure something just for say 2 or 3 weeks or a month? Those are the sort of things we've got to have. And I think we're probably best to have a conversation with those councils in that regard.
Yes,
And also the data handling part still comes through us, because we're the ones who are registered for handling the data, so we can't hand that over to other people, so it is our responsibility. The other costs that we will be looking at incurring as well is part of the discussion about the AMPR was also about our SIDs and where we've got them in the village at the moment. We did the survey which we sent off to the Highways Authority as to where we've got them. A number of them have raised some issues, so some of them will need extension posts put on to make them higher, to get them out of the way of people. 1 or 2 they weren't happy with the locations and were then going around to do a survey themselves to see if they could come up with an alternative. So we will be getting some correspondence back from the Highways Department, basically going through what the current locations are, whether they need any work done to them, because a number of them are slightly on the lean as well, which they said they will need to deal with. But we will be getting a list of things to have to think about doing.
Yeah, because I've nominated my garden because that's my garden. Highways can't touch that, it's inside my garden. So I've told them they've got permission to literally put it up in my garden if need be, in that area. So, you know what I mean, there's no arguments there, because it's off a road and there's a certain distance off the side of the road as well. So that's a good idea there.
I think the difficulty there was that obviously there didn't used to be a fence.
No.
So that was the old speed sign. But yes, they were very happy. They said they had conversations with you, so they were quite happy.
Right, surgery attendance for April.
Surgery attendance for April, so who would like somebody new, somebody different who hasn't done it before?
When is that?
April the 4th.
I'll do it then if no one else can do it.
I don't mind doing it, but I'm not new and I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's always good. I mean, you know, I've done it on my own, but it's not a good idea. Doesn't look good actually.
Biscuits.
So how many do you want?
Well, only one. I mean, we only need one. We can have as many as you like. Have the whole council if we want to, you know, not a problem.
If I can, I will anyway, because it picks up other issues to do with county
Yeah.
districts.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you've got David Dyer anyway, you can come on this thing.
Flooding and future planning equipment.
Yeah, I had did I send you that email from somebody? Yeah, so
Yes.
I won't say this. But yes, so that was the one that mentioned about flooding, obviously, and he's still concerned about it. And I have written to Matthew Orr, Drainage Board, to ask him if he can have another look at it. Okay, so but that, you know, what about equipment there?
I shall take it this month. Inspection.
Take for a walk.
Yeah.
Seeing as it's the first,
I
there's a
walk,
big
I
chance.
walk down Crooked Lane. And report back.
Also, in response to the email that we had, the issue they raised was they had an issue with the flooding, but they had no idea that they could contact us and we had a pump. So it was asking if contact details could go in the Brent Knoll News. Very happy to put them in there if we've got a contact, but that we need to work out.
And we need to decide whether it works.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't work, there's no point in
Yeah,
contact.
exactly.
Instead of someone
Next item is play area proposals and grants.
This is ongoing, really, isn't it? I mean, did you get anywhere with you were making an application to Viridor, I think, weren't you?
Well, I'm still
Did you get
waiting
it?
for something to confirm that we own the land.
Right, okay. I mean, I think this whole question needs a bit of an airing, because we're a long, I mean, it started off...
They do big grants.
Yeah, exactly, they do very
Yeah.
big grants. And of course I managed to get this grant from the trust fund, it should be nameless,
Yeah.
back in whenever it was last autumn, but of course it was only £3,000, and we were then looking specifically at disabled roundabout.
Yeah.
And they would want it to be a disabled roundabout in order to release that grant. So it's not an open-ended grant for play equipment, it's a grant for a disabled roundabout.
And that's what I've put on my application. I just need that evidence that we own.
But I'm not sure we've kind of got our act together on this very much at the moment. All right, Bob?
Can I just chip in as well? I think one of the dangers we have as a council is that sometimes it feels like we're a play equipment chasing a grant rather than working out what we want and then working out where we get the finance from. It feels like sometimes we know there's a grant, so let's go for something. And I just wonder at some point whether we need to actually go out and look at what we've got. We did talk about talking to the rest of the village, the users of the green as to what they want, because it, again, sat around here, I don't know that we necessarily represent the demographic that is probably the most interested in what play equipment's going to do.
Oh, thanks, David.
Oh, yes,
But I think it's just that
It's been
when we did the witch's hat thing or whatever it's that was, we actually went to the school and did a bit of a survey with the kids as to what was it they felt was missing.
Yeah.
And then at least if we work out what we want, then we can work out where we get the money for it. But as I say, it feels sometimes that we know there's a pot of money, so let's now buy something. But
If you go, going on what Bob's saying, if you go to like other parks, like places like they say there's a really good one in Clark's Village, for instance, the stuff that they've got there for all different ages of children, and if you start to look at what play equipment is out there, it's like you said, it is, and also we have to consider that the service is probably inadequate as well. So that I guess a grant might cover that as well, but. Yeah, there are loads of different things out there, but
Does this require sort of
Ideas
a
and
working group
things.
to have a look at this whole question of play equipment, really? Is that what
Are
it
we
means?
nice saying we don't want a disabled? Are we nice saying we don't want a disabled roundabout?
Well, I don't know what we're saying actually. I mean, that, to be honest, we've got the £3,000.
Yeah, because you've got a grant.
That's a long way off of
And I'm
18,000 or so that is required for that
4/5 through the process of applying for one.
Yeah.
I just need that last missing part of the jigsaw puzzle, and then I can send it off.
And what have you put on there in terms of amounts? Because they normally ask for how much you're looking for.
Yeah, and it does ask for how much, and off the top of my head I can't remember because it was based on an amount that you have already
Yeah,
secured.
because I sent that picture around with the
Yeah.
disabled roundabout.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And also the figure, it either came from you or
I
Colin,
think it's Colin,
a figure for
I think.
the cost of a roundabout,
Mm.
and I took the one away from the other and put that figure down
Yeah.
on the form.
Yeah.
But again, Chairman, when we talked about the disabled roundabout, that came out because we were going for a grant, and I think it was yourself as the clerk, you found a picture of something that we could go for.
Yes.
We didn't,
To support the grant.
yeah, but we never resolved that
No.
that was what we actually required.
No.
And again, we just need to be careful when you take something out, that we're not putting something in that's less
Yeah.
Yeah.
less engaging than what's there. Which,
Would it be, I think, to put a little thing in the BKN saying, if anyone, you know, parents, families, whatever, has any input of a piece of equipment that they would like,
Good idea.
yeah, suggestions.
and ultimately, what do you want to get rid of? Because there's only so much space on the village green.
Well, maybe some of
So-
that wooden stuff that's all falling apart.
Well, it's only got a
We're just about to
limited
fixed.
lifespan.
Just back to Bob's point, I really like that. I think we should empower the children at the school. They're the most likely people to use it. I think it would be a real fun project for them to be involved and to touch base with the council and think, actually, those guys don't nothing to do with us. They're actually with us. So I think,
Yeah.
personally, I think we should propose it to the headmaster that it becomes a project at the school, and they come back to us and say, these are the options, and this is what we could do. They use it, you know, they're the most likely group to use it, so I think they would love that. I think they would absolutely love that. So back to your point, Bob.
And it's
That's
not-
good.
Most children at school don't actually live in the village though, they come from some.
I work in the shop. Fridays, it's evening there sometimes.
Yes,
All the kids from the
sometimes.
schools, every day, the kids from the schools, they're always in there playing about and that lot. There's quite a few in there playing about, because I go around and pick up the litter sometimes. So I know that the kids use that from the school. Yeah, you
Yeah, but I'm just saying that most of the children
I
at
know,
the school
but-
don't live in the village.
That's fair enough.
Through the summer holidays,
Yeah.
it is children from within the village. So maybe they should also be asked and not just through the school. Because there are other children in the village that don't go to that school, like your children.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I think it's a double header. I think it's a double header. So I'm not
Do it
disagreeing.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disagreeing with you at all.
So do you want to put something in the BKN asking
But
that?
there's quite a few news in
Oh, I know there is, but not all of them are from that school.
And bearing in mind that grant we've got already secured, we can go back and change that. I mean, okay, we can't do it automatically, but if we go back to them and say, actually the council had a rethink of their play equipment needs, we would like to secure the grant. However, it is not the piece of equipment that we originally sought the grant on. So that's not a problem. They'll do that very happily. So, you know, so yes, why don't we do that and put a big piece in the big KN, see what sort of feedback we get, and go from there really, see what we can do.
Flagpole refurbishment.
Hopefully going back up tomorrow or beginning of next week at the latest.
Coronation, won't
Yeah,
we?
I've been told that numerous times.
Must be appointed.
I'll be around the pants up there tomorrow.
Got to fly the village flag there.
Yeah, Somerset flag.
Signal the arrival of oh.
The Warman Social Project update process.
This is a very difficult one now because, of course, we've had lots of volunteers and we've been opening the warm space every Friday, but they haven't been getting a huge number of takers. There's only been 3 or 4, maybe 5 on occasions. It's not really been really that well used, and I think the volunteers are getting a bit kind of thinking, well, actually, I'm happy to do this, but I'd rather it was there's more take-up. And of course it runs out at the end of March anyway, technically. So I just don't know what your feelings are on it, whether you feel we can do something continuous through the year, perhaps, and try and give it a different name, not warm and social, but
How's it been
friendship.
advertised?
BKN, all around
Website.
posts and stuff like that.
So it's not lack of advertising, it's
No.
just that actually its purpose maybe not quite in keeping with.
It does seem to be a problem with villages.
Yeah.
Villages seem to have a problem with it. Towns have been good,
Yeah.
but
Not
villages
as
not so
positive.
good.
But also, East Brent have it on the same time as us as well. Burnham have it on the same time as us, so a lot of them have it on the same time. So it's hard, you know, I've been here with none, I've been here with one, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Awkward.
Yeah.
of course it costs obviously, you know, well, it don't cost us, it costs the government in the wood then, whatever, you know, for the heating and all that lot, and electric, and the hire, and you're just serving yourself. So,
So you should put your heating on at home.
yeah. So it's sad really, but
I was just going to ask Owen whether we can approach them and see whether they would be willing to allow, if we did continue with it, whether they would allow the funding to roll.
Yes.
yeah.
But I do think your comment about changing the name
Yeah,
is important,
definitely.
because I think there are some people in the village who almost wouldn't want to come
You
along
see.
because it
Yeah.
implies they
Yeah.
need to come because they're a bit they can't heat their own home. Whereas if it was more the social side,
Yes, appeal to.
Make it more of a lunchtime club
exactly,
and maybe provide a
Yeah.
lunch.
yeah.
Well, warm and social, that's what they call it over, where is it they call it, warm and social now? They call it, somewhere, one of the villages around here,
Yeah.
they call it warm and social now, because they've changed it from warm space to warm and social.
Is it any better use?
No, it's still...
No, because I still think it kind of comes under that.
Maybe don't
Property.
say warm, just say social.
Yeah.
As a comparison, you've got
Yeah,
the
Friday
council.
socials, yeah, Friday
Yeah.
social, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's all sorts of different names, I suppose. But I must say, in North Curry, where we ran a similar thing, we've already foreclosed on it. It's already closed, finished,
Yeah.
because we just didn't get the takers.
I think you're right though, people will think, oh actually I can afford to heat my house, I shouldn't turn up. Yeah,
And
yeah.
there are a lot of activities in the village as well. They all belong to
Yeah,
different
yeah.
other organisations, don't they?
Although, of course, we're losing WI now, of course,
Yeah.
one organisation has disbanded.
Just an idea, but would there be an opportunity to work with maybe East Brent or Lewisham and rotate it round like three houses,
Maybe.
so that you drag out your money
Yeah.
and you pull people across from East Brent and Lewisham,
No idea.
and then they chat to each other.
Yeah.
But a lot of them is driving as well, because a lot of them can't.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
maybe they can. So I know there's some good people at
Yeah.
East Brent. I know they've done really well
Yeah.
over there. I've chatted to them the other day about it. So
Yeah.
whether they could share a lift and they could mix up and we could get better value for our
Yeah,
better value for the budget.
more bang for the buck.
The bang for the buck, absolutely.
So, well, shall I have a word with Community Council and just say, look, you know, if we, because obviously we probably use at the moment around about 300 and something pounds of the £1,000 grant that we received. But if we could continue it, then that's fine.
Make it more of a cheese and wine thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Development plan for Brent Knoll.
I think we agreed to
Yeah.
put a lot of things on, so skip on from that.
Take that off the agenda.
Take that off the agenda at the moment.
So we move on.
We agreed that there was a lot on, and that was for a later date to tackle once other things.
Future project.
Future projects, yes.
The Have a Slice and fish and chip requests on Thursdays.
So, to the Chair, if I can be permitted to just add a couple of lines on that. I have spoken briefly to the guy running it. He says it's been well attended. He's between 35 to 50 sales per night. He's very happy with that. That sits within his break even of 40. So he's very happy to continue. And also
It's just Have a Slice.
this is Have a Slice with the pizzas, yeah. So he's happy, and I asked him if there's anything to report, but he said no, everything was going well and building up at the moment. So thank you.
Can I just, this is on Thursday, well I have pizza tonight, fish and chips
Fish
on
and
Thursday.
chips versus...
Oh, sorry, I can't.
That's a separate
Alright.
question. Separate question.
Yeah, I had it tonight, it's very good, and I had a chat with them and they said that John had already done a report with them. You didn't need to, very good.
And the fish and chip there, I spoke to the guy who requested he could come and operate a fish and chip facility, and the only day he could come was on Thursday. hasn't spoken, he did promise me he was going to send me all details, but he hasn't done so. So I don't really know what to do, really.
Could we, sorry, Chair, could we ask him to come and present maybe, and maybe
Well,
that's his keep
Well, that's the answer.
proverbial?
Yeah. And bring some to taste.
Thursday is the only night he can do it, because he was committed to the nights.
Bob?
Was just going to say, I mean, the Haverslides have been working with the parish hall as well in terms of electricity supply since they haven't needed. So we did buy one of these little meter things to run off the plugs, so they're basically just being charged the cost of the electric. It seems to be working.
Excellent.
I wonder whether we could use one of those for the shop.
I took the words right out of my mouth.
To give us a nice, accurate,
Yes.
a much more accurate picture of things. But we'd have to, because we've got 3 meters. 3 meters is a problem. I don't know whether that works on 3 meters. We've got 3 separate meters in the toilet block.
Just use the ones out of the shop.
We've got a daytime one, and a weekend one, and an evening one. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
That'll change things.
That's good news.
Right. Next item is annual parish meeting format.
Yeah, there is one thing there, just Malcolm. Coronation. Do we want to say anything about the coronation presentations we had earlier on? Is there anything we want to?
Well, the only question I've written down is the grant. Is there some money that we're able to give to people in the village? I was a bit confused what our
There is some money in the budget
contribution
for
to that
grant, certainly a small grant. There's money available because we didn't have, when we did the grant allocations back in whenever it was, December, January, we kept some over actually.
Okay.
But whether this is the right place to use it, it's back to you really.
The Legion don't need it, do they? I don't think.
Not for the disco event.
No, I think the Legion are pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Yes.
They try and collect our own events.
Yeah.
The Legion.
Because I think the discos, sorry to any members of the Legion, discos are quite restrictive in who's going to go to it if there's only 120 capacity. Doesn't seem much of a celebration really
They're
for
not going to do it
a once in a lifetime event.
Because last year, for the whatever happened last year, I can't remember.
Jubilee.
Yeah, we had it on the green
Yeah.
outside.
Dancing on the green.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why that's not happening.
And then a couple of years ago there was a picnic, wasn't there, that we had out there? I can't remember what that was
about the
for.
weather. If it rains or whatever,
That's part of being
If it ever
British.
rains, we'll be
Who cares?
How many times have we had
Okay.
music on the green and it started raining just as we were packing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did it last year on the Jubilee one actually.
Yeah.
It started, we were packing up, weren't we? And it started raining, yeah.
Please, through the chair.
Yeah, I think in terms of the daytime, the recommendation was that the whole of the Legion didn't feel it was worth doing something during the day, simply because this time it is a coronation. People are probably going to want to watch what's going on rather than with the Jubilees. People were happy to come out and do their own stuff, but obviously as a parish we need to find out. I know Owen's trying to find out about whether the beacon is something that is being done nationally, in which case we'll need to get involved with that. In terms of the mugs, I think it was a nice idea. We did, the last lot of mugs we did as a parish council was the Millennium, which we did do to all the kids, both at the school and in the village. But what we had to do was we had to put a flyer through every house to say, in effect, do you have a kiddie under 14? And we then made a list just of numbers that were required so they could then be handed out. Because obviously, as most mentioned, you can't just do it at the school because there's a lot of kids at school who aren't in Brent Knoll, but there's a lot of Brent Knoll kids who aren't in the school. And we need to look at the funding for that, because if we were going to do that, I thought the mug that was passed around was actually quite nice, having both the coronation and linking it to the village. And what we did was then, if people wanted to buy them, they could buy them as well. So that helped cover some of the cost of it, because you then sold them at a slightly higher price than the actual cost price. But those sort of things take a bit of time, and we haven't got a lot left, which is Rosemary's suggestion about going for kids for a design. by the time we do that, we're going to run out of time to get the things made and distributed. So
Do you definitely think we are? Because I think that's such a lovely idea, and I think to sort of suggest that we couldn't do it. Do you definitely think we have? Or is it worth having a very quick look at the timescales? Because I think opening up through BKN or something back to the school and to the other children in the village is quite a lovely idea, personally.
well, if you work on the timescale, the next BKN deadline is 15th of March. The thing will come out in April, and we're talking about something pretty much at the beginning of May.
Yeah, you'd never get it made in time.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you need to get the mugs themselves
No,
physically made as well as getting the design sorted?
We should have started last year.
I've just got something branded in 2 days. You can do it.
Well, I know somebody that does printed mugs and stuff, and they do them very quickly, but it would be getting the design
Yeah, no, I appreciate
from,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the problem. Yes.
How can we find out about this beacon thing? Because it could suddenly seem that everybody's got to be in everywhere at once. Because if this is going on in here, there's a bun fight in here, there's one on top of the knoll. I mean, it would be like, oh my God, you know, what's... How will we know about the beacon?
Well, normally I get some stuff by now, but I haven't, nothing at all from anybody about beacons.
Maybe it's not a
I
thing.
think it's not the done thing.
I googled it earlier on, I didn't get a great deal from that either. I will try and get hold of Sal, I think, and see what Sal can help me to. Or send out a note on on my class Facebook page.
There's nothing stopping us doing a beacon on our own if no one else wants to do it. But because I mean we've had Jubilee beacons and Coronation beacons up there for well, since Victoria. So
And I don't think permission is an issue because they never. I mean, on 2 occasions now we've had a beacon without permission in writing. I've had a verbal one, and I've taken that. Thank you very much. We'll do it. You know. So I don't think that's a big issue.
It's perfectly safe because Bob and I did crowd control last year. It's just about to put the match and there's somebody who decided to go and sit right back.
Okay, I'll find out about beacons. Certainly, I will find that out because that won't take that long to put together. I mean, it doesn't need a lead-in time as much, does it?
No.
As long as we decide in April, that's plenty, isn't it? I would have thought. So, yeah. But as far as most are concerned, I mean, that's why I asked the question. I asked them what they were asking from the council, because I got the impression they were going to come up with something and say, could you provide us, you know, with a small grant for this or that or whatever. But that wasn't seem to be forthcoming.
So, obviously, when you say about these mugs, I know the RBL was on about 252, wasn't it, units, which is £2.79 per cup. If we paid £699, but 252 in the last 5 minutes, is it, in the village?
He said 300.
Hmm?
No, did he say?
No, he said 100, wasn't it 108?
Oh, 108, sorry, 108, which is free. Was I say 329? 329 per cup. So it's £354 for us, but that in the last 5 minutes isn't that long, that many.
What, 108?
Yeah, so you're talking, what, probably 1,000 for Brent Knoll, aren't you? Roughly, I reckon?
probably over 500
It's like 500 is £1,255, which we retail out at £2.50 in it.
If you say so.
Is it?
It is.
£2.50 per unit. So, like Bob said, if you want to sell it,
That's without the printing.
no, that's all included, printing or everything.
Everything done.
Yeah. So 1,255 for 504. But I suggested just now, Sarah's got a pen as well. These companies, they do like, I think it's about 500 pens or something like that, you know, for a trial or whatever, you know, to get you to buy more. It's something to look at as well, doing pens. Because kids at school use pens quite a bit. We all use pens in here. Something to look at as well, all sorts. Something to look at as well.
And perhaps even a letter to the school, rather than the advertising through the Brent Knoll News, to Chris Dunn and just seeing whether you'd open it up to the school. And I don't know, it just seems a shame to knock it on the head so quickly. I do appreciate the timescales, I do appreciate that, but they can be done quite quickly. I don't know.
Would somebody like to write to school? Councillor? Would a councillor like to write to school?
I'll go and speak to Chris.
Yeah.
If that's something that everyone is in favour of. But Bob, I do appreciate that. I you know,
No, if you
timescales
can
are
turn it around and
I
get it
just
sorted,
think
I
it's
have
such
a
a good
problem.
idea.
It is a good idea.
Isn't it? And what would the brief be, that it's to put forward a logo or design? And then we need to check what it is that they can actually do, so it's
It's just a little design like that.
Yeah.
Well, so aren't the Legion doing this anyway?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, are they? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's what it sounds like. He's got his design and it's going.
You went last
No,
time.
I was there.
I didn't.
I was at a meeting.
You were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, which leads meeting, you know, we haven't decided to go about do that. Not yet.
Maybe we could coordinate it with them. I don't know.
I know next week, which leads meeting next week.
Okay.
So, Sarah to speak to Chris Bell.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
And what do we do about finding out how many we need in terms of how many kids are there in
Mm.
Brent? We have to survey in some way. If it's going to go to the
Yeah.
residents, we have to find out. Well, the only way we could do it last time was, as I say, physically to drop something through every door, just saying how many kids have you got, 14 and under. And that's again where the cut-off point is. Do you do 14 and under, or do you do 16 or what, or 11 or? But that's something we would need to decide, because it changes the numbers that we would need to provide.
Surely we have to do, and would you like a mug? Because we could order hundreds and we could say, sorry, no, not interested.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit harsh that no kid you've got. Every other kid in the village has it and they don't because somebody said no. But yeah. Nor had it managed to sell it.
Well, that's something if you don't.
That's what we did with the Millennium Mugs. We sold enough that helped offset a fair bit of the cost.
Right. In your parish meeting format, 23.
You saw the suggested agenda. In the past, we've always had a speaker, and just trying to sort of bring the changes a bit, and do something a little bit different this time. And I don't know what you felt about the idea of having a panel. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised actually, how quickly Chris Berman, Kevin Wright and Vicar came back, said yes, love it, you know. And I thought I'd really struggled to get people to sit on this panel. So at the moment we've got, assuming that Colin's okay, and if Colin wasn't for any reason, then I'm sure another member of the parish council would be happy to. But I mean, Colin will be there because we're delivering a report, of course. Bob there in his county council role, or unitary council role. Chris Berman, Reverend Wright, Kim Wilcox, the village agent, and somebody from the hall. I don't know whether you managed to get hold of Eddie.
Not yet, but it will be Eddie.
And David Yates from the shop. And that's a good broad spread of people from the village with different organisations, different hats on, that could be asked questions from the assembled audience.
Could I just ask, is the idea that they all get asked the same question, or that people get, because there's a danger that somebody might get targeted more than others, and they sort of, some sit there looking quite happy and
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, the way the question time normally works is that they aim it at the person that's most relevant to that question, and then open it up to the others. So that's how it's normally done. So yeah, I think everybody ought to have an input into every question, even though it may not be directly related to them. So if, for example, the question was asked of the shop, then you simply ask the others if they have any other comments they wish to make. I mean, how many questions we get, I just don't know, because we don't know how many people would come to the meeting.
How many normally attend?
20 to 30 is a typical number. Of course, councillors come as
That's controversial.
I mean, you, as councillors, you will be attending as residents of the village and not as councillors. So, I mean, in fact, you are councillors, you know, everybody knows that. But that's not your role necessarily. It's actually, the only person that's going as a councillor is the chairman. It's a statutory requirement on the council to organise the parish meeting before the end of May. But it's an interesting, different way of approaching things, and it may fall flat on its face, we just don't know. But on the other hand, it's worth a go, I thought. Might also be worth just preambling a few questions to a few people just to sort of get the thing going. You know, it's always a good idea just to sort of drop a couple of questions in. And then that gets people's sort of juices flowing, and then they start asking questions themselves. And that happens with question time, actually. Because Richard Ibrahim, I don't know if you remember, Richard Ibrahim was actually on question time about, I think 6 months ago. He said beforehand there were a few questions that were put in front of people, you know, to ask. So, yeah. So yeah, are you happy with that format? Because you need to agree, basically. And will you be coming? And will you be asking questions?
Yeah.
Sorry, with the departure of the WI,
Yes.
we need to sort out refreshments.
Yes.
Normally they sort them for us.
I've spoken to Jackie actually. Jackie's really good. She's going to try that.
Big
or something. Yeah, is there anybody here who might like to?
We could do it.
Yeah, we can do it.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Don't forget them. I'll be ringing in. Good.
I'm not here.
Who's doing the cakes then?
Pardon? We can make some cakes.
Thanks.
We'll liaise.
Yeah.
Leave it to us. What's going to go wrong?
So there we are. There you have it.
Right. Move on to matters of report, Bob.
I think.
I thought of something. In the car park that we've acquired, there was fly tipping, which I've been up and cleared on Saturday morning, and we ought to have something in place if it happens, because I'm not really supposed to get rid of it, but I did.
Right.
Sorry, I should have brought it up at another point, and it just came into my head.
Quite interesting you raised that car park because we've got a sign waiting to be
Yeah,
connected.
I couldn't believe it when I went in on another matter, and I was like, oh. So, garden waste mainly, and a couple of plastic sort of packaging. So I got rid of it. There is quite a lot of litter out there as well.
This is a good top tip.
Sorry, that's all.
Thank you. Jane?
Yeah, two things. I'm not here on the 19th next month. I'm on holiday. Also, don't disrespect, but can we have someone, that's in charge of the green, in other words, that checks it all and whatnot? Because, like I say, I check the benches, and the benches are health and safety. Me and Bob's had a look at them. They need seeing to ASAP straight away, because someone's going to have a serious accident on one of them, because it's unsafe. There's bits of wood obviously stuck up in that lot. I don't mind doing that because I don't work at all no more now, so I don't mind doing that every month. If you wanted me to do it every month and do stuff in that lot, because I go around there myself and have a look and pick up rubbish.
Yeah.
But I don't mind doing that because it's something for me and my brain to do. Look. So if everyone's happy for me to do that,
All the council.
Yeah.
it's up to you. So as everyone else, you dictate to whoever's going to do it each month. I don't mind doing it each month.
One of the things we're supposed to provide
If you let me know, yeah.
is a sort of report
Yeah.
from time to time that we've done the health safety checks. Not on the play equipment, because that's done by GB Sports.
Mm.
You're not expected to be an expert on play equipment.
But whoever wants to help you in like that, like Sarah, I don't mind doing all the, doing the rest of the stuff around the park and keeping an eye on what Jay does and that lot. It's up to the council whether you want me to do it each month. Keeps me occupied and my brain going. So it's up to you lot if you want to do it.
Yes? Everyone in agreement? Yes.
So instead of having, what you're suggesting, instead of having the rota system we
Yeah.
have now,
Like you
you
have
take
got.
on a sort of
Yeah.
permanent role.
That's if, you know, the rest of the council don't mind.
Is that called on the agenda?
Hmm? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your offer.
Show it on the agenda.
Keeps me going.
Sarah?
Tomorrow night I'm going to an event to do with Sunset Housing, I think it is.
That's right, yeah, you're into that, yeah?
Yeah, so
Okay.
just to say, unless anyone else wanted to come with me or go instead, but I volunteered to go to it and I'll put on it next time.
Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, it's tomorrow night.
This is the one you're squeezing in with the Bristol trip, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Melina?
Nothing.
Amanda? John?
No.
Owen?
No?
I haven't anything. Thank you for your attendance tonight. The next meeting's on the
This way.
5th of
This way.
April.
Start of a new financial year, 2000.